Nice. Go up. Eine Theorie. Eine lange Theorie. Himmels Willen. Okay. Click the pen and read the theory. Ja, super. Character Connections Speculation. Written by Chatsko. Let's try something new and attempt to connect some characters in the Submachine games. It seems interesting to me that we have so many notes from a single unnamed person in this S-series. Specifically, the person who left notes in the cliffs and the tunnels in S6, and the jumper in the mountain location. Both the same person, as confirmed by yet we don't know the jumper's name. Odd for someone we know so much about. Then we have people like Henry O'Toole, where he also knows a lot, but he somehow isn't involved in the main series. For someone we know so much about. He's very indirectly involved, but he has a name. In an effort to try to bring together elements of the games, I'm going to propose something rather odd. What do we know about the Jumper? Lass mich kurz überlegen, was ist der Jumper? War der Jumper der Würfel, mit dem wir herumgefahren sind? Das war doch der Mover. Was war der Jumper? Bin ich mir jetzt gar nicht mehr sicher. The Jumper worked in the lab under Murtaugh. War das eine Person? Yet he was not part of an exploration team, offensichtlich. And he never met anyone else besides Murtaugh himself. The Jumper was instead sent to the edge to disable the defense systems. And even though he didn't have contact with anyone else who was also sent here, he somehow knew that at least 5 others were sent before him. He also knew about Liz. He wasn't eager to explore the subnet, and this played a factor in why he was chosen. He was good at doing what he was told, and this also played a role in his selection to go into defense systems. What can we draw from this? Just like everyone else who went to the edge, he was placed under special conditions. He worked under Murtaugh for a while before being sent out. However, what do we know about people who were sent out to the edge? S5 tells us that they needed some sort of special training with wisdom gems first, and that is why they were chosen. So we know that the Jumper most likely had a special training with wisdom gems. And since the Jumper is said to not be interested in exploring the infinity of the subnet, then maybe he was only interested on one part of the subnet while he was inside it. Or 2. Now let's talk about Henry O'Toole. Henry was brought to the king's attention as a young man with special architectural skills. His first project under the king was to build the Winter Palace and exploit the uses of anti-structural engineering with the help of karmic energy. So he knew a great deal about how to manipulate karma to build the Winter Palace. He worked as a servant at least 2 levels down from the king, as the servant of the king's urbanist. Most likely, the urbanist gave him orders directly from the king to experiment with building new structures like the ones we have found in S7, the core. He was a servant. He was to do what he was told in order to succeed. This resulted in building the palace and then the lighthouse, both located in the core. This was before there was a defense system, before the collapse. A bit of a sidetrack. Submachine 10 confirms the purpose of the lab complex. It was an effort to explore the properties of karma. So here's a scenario. Henry O'Toole brings the Winter Palace in 1832 with his knowledge of karma, builds. In assuming the lab complex would therefore have to be in the core to make it easily accessible to the palace. Then, much later, he builds the lighthouse on top of the route. The route is then later explored and used to test out the first teleportation systems by use of teleporters. Soon after, Murtaugh learns to manipulate karmic energy. The AI is established by others in the core as well. Expansion begins. Murtaugh is somehow able to start using karma portals in the palace. But how? odds are that he would have to have been granted permission by the king to act there. So maybe he signed up for a position to overlook the grounds. Maybe he became the master urbanist, with O'Toole as his inferior. Murtagh abused this position and this angers the others. Murtagh transforms to the root and leaves the palace deserted and broken. He enters the lighthouse and becomes its keeper. The root is then abandoned. The only location populated at this point is the lab complex. Murtagh continues to experiment with karma portals at this time, unrefined and raw. He destroys the root's power source with a portal, therefore triggering the collapse and the uncontrolled expansion. The AI responds by building the defense system. What is O'Toole doing during this time? He separates from Mur by order of the king and continues refining karma in the lab complex. Meanwhile, the others plan to bury Murtagh to stop his destruction. Murtagh leaves via the lighthouse and ends up in the lab, outside the core. This means that lab locations would have had to be relocated outside the core as well, possibly during the collapse. They became displaced and removed from the core as the AI recognized humans as a threat. O'Toole managed to continue working in the labs, now outside the core. He was more determined than ever to refine karma and restore the beginnings of the collapse, and if not, simply prepared to find a way to leave the subnet. In other words, he had no reason to explore. Murtagh, however, had the opposite idea. Mur wanted to explore, to find ways back into the core. Eventually, he found a way to access the edge, and therefore to access the core and escape the submachine. But he had to travel for 32 years to do it. He grew up, and O'Toole grew old. Murtagh approached O'Toole with a plan for escape, and that involved sending him to the edge. Of course, the idea attracted Henry greatly, as he wanted out as well, after 32 years of trying to refine karma while Murtagh made ill use of it. He reluctantly followed Mur's orders as an old man tired with the constant destruction, and accessed the root before pulling back out of the core, and then advancing again to the edge to open up a path for Mur's invasion. Henry was sent to the edge under Mur's orders. Henry lived in the cliffs for a long time, facing the hardships of the protocols and the defense system. After a certain time he became lost and gave up. He never wanted to explore. He only wanted to leave the subnet. And after becoming trapped on the cliffs, he realized he could not leave. Henry traveled away from the cliffs. He found the mountain. He left a note. Das ist ganz interessante Theorie, auch wenn ich nicht so hundertprozentig sicher bin. Wartet's mal. Nein, ist gar nicht mal schlecht. Diese Person, welche bei The Edge gelebt hat. Wir wurden da ja rausgeschmissen aus dem Würfel. Und dann haben wir eine Notiz gefunden, das ist die jetzt da unten steht. He left a note, wo mehr oder weniger stand, dass er sich den Abgrund runtergestürzt hat. Das waren die letzten Worte von Henry O'Toole. Das könnte schon sein. Henry O'Toole war der Ersteller des Gartens vom The Core. Wenn ich das richtig im Kopf habe. Wenn ich das richtig im Kopf habe. Und war er auch der Architekt des Lighthouses? Kann sein. Sir Henry O'Toole. Doch, das könnte sein. Doch, das stimmt, glaube ich. Ich habe jetzt keinen anderen Namen im Kopf. Das musste er gewesen sein. Das ist interessant. Das würde aber mehr oder weniger voraussetzen, dass diese ganze Sache mit Karma-Energie und so, dass die wie einfach so existiert. Die war schon da und der König hat es da einfach so erlaubt, das zu nutzen. Das ist ein bisschen seltsam, das verstehe ich nicht ganz. Ist wahrscheinlich dieselbe Person, hier Jetsko, welche auch die anderen Theorien, die eben da in diesen Videos sind, verfasst hat. Ziemlich sicher. Ich glaube, ich habe seinen Namen irgendwo gesehen. Wer weiß, interessant. Finde ich gar nicht mal schlecht. Ist mal etwas relativ Konkretes. Wirklich, wirklich gut. Wirklich gut. Schauen wir mal, was weiter passiert hier. Was? Click the... Go up, click the panel and read through. Go down, enter the... Was ist denn oben? Hier! Ich glaube, das ist dieser... Jacko. Ist das richtig? Jetsko. Woher kenne ich dieses Signet? Dieses Signet kommt mir so bekannt vor. Kommt das in Submachine so häufig vor? Und woher kenne ich das? Weiß ich nicht mehr. Scheint ein großer Fan zu sein. Oh, da fliegt was. Und weiter unten ist auch nichts weiter, da komme ich nicht weiter. Okay, gehen wir also zurück. Moment, wo sind wir hier? Ich bin an einem völlig anderen Ort. Click the panel next to the portal, read the message. Data, cluster, KPS info, open dear. Unit info, read, camera portal, stabilizer, prototype, glass, crossing, engineer, Robert L. Wood. Okay, ist also nicht Elijah Wood, sondern Robert L. Wood. Haha, lustig. Go right, click the monitor and read the theory. Eine Riesentheorie, um Himmels Willen. Na gut. Light Theory. Written by Jetsko. Load file. Begin transcript. So, for example, you have a karma portal in this location here. Two-way as usual. Leading between and Wow, that sound is piercing. Sorry, let me bump the feet down a bit. You know what that's supposed to be? Yes, it's the, what you call, National Weather Service call for bad storms and stuff like that. Exactly. I used to love listening to it as a kid. When my dad's radio was playing and it started, I knew a big storm was coming and I would get all excited. So anything here stick out to you? Well, the lamps are quite interesting, and there's also that wire that runs along the top. Yeah, that's the power strip thing. You know, the lamps reminded me of what you might see in like a lighthouse or a naval vessel or something like that. What do you mean? It's a traditional design, usually called wall-mounted bulkhead or some other industrial term. Usually used for nautical purposes, like on ships and stuff. Good for sailor use. So, what do you think this location could be in either a lighthouse or a ship? Almost definitely. And are there any other mentions of lighthouses or ships in the subnet? Oh man, you have no idea. There's a single lighthouse, one that's a core element of the subnet, which takes up locations like and Then there's a ship at Take me to them. So this is the lighthouse? Yep. I can show you around multiple sections if you want. Yeah, look on the walls. Do the lights look familiar? Similar crosshatch design, exposed wiring, and look at what else is here. What else is here? Look carefully, Jetsko. Look beneath your feet. I don't... The floors. What about the floors? I'm not sure exactly what they're made of, but those look like they could be wooden slats to me. Right? Well, they probably are. But what does this have to do with... Wait. Go double check. I don't believe it. Has the wooden floors as well. And you know what else I noticed? The pathway itself, it's curved, isn't it? Right. And, well, this lighthouse... Lighthouses are circular by design. Jesus. So what you're telling me is that this tunnel with lamps in it is actually part of the lighthouse. It's entirely possible. I don't think it's connected to the ship, since the ship doesn't have the right lights and wiring. But you do know certain naval ships are responsible for sending in weather alerts, right? That's true. But why would a lighthouse need to worry about weather alerts, specifically flood warnings? Most lighthouses are situated on cliffs, aren't they? Above ground by a significant amount. Maybe this location isn't above ground. Are there any places connected to the lighthouse that aren't above ground? There's an entire network of locations. The lighthouse was built on top of a medieval dungeon, and then the whole thing was buried in sand and dirt. There's also a sewer system that connects to the dungeon, but also has paths that lead into unknown areas, too dark to follow. So what if this location is behind the dark areas in the sewers? And didn't we also see that we took a karma portal to the slam tunnel by way of which had a floating island of red bricks? Yeah, and not to also mention that is almost certainly direct above which has a huge water pipe and is also part of the dungeon root system. We might be onto something here. Okay, ich weiß jetzt nicht genau, ob das, wie soll ich sagen, erfunden ist oder ob das wirklich zwei Leute sind. Zwei Fans. Jetsko und N11 Ordo, die miteinander gechattet haben und dadurch diese, wie soll ich sagen, durch die ganzen Spiele hindurchgegangen sind und versucht haben, die verschiedenen Locations miteinander zu verbinden. Ich denke, es ist explizit so ein bisschen aufgemacht von wegen, das sind wirklich zwei Explorers, aber die sind am Diskutieren und am herausfinden, was gehört zusammen. Und ich habe jetzt nicht alles verstanden, wo was sein könnte. Ich weiß nur, dass sie versucht haben, das Lighthouse mit dem Ship in Verbindung zu bringen, glaube ich. Und die gekrümmten Räume oder die schrägen Räume waren ja auch beim Lighthouse immer wieder zu sehen. Ich weiß nicht genau, was da alles dahinter steckt. Gut. Dann gibt es ja sonst noch was zu sehen. Hier links vielleicht? Nein. Was passiert, wenn wir jetzt wieder draufklicken? Jetzt sind wir wieder an einer anderen Location. Okay. Go left. Look into the telescope. Schon wieder hier? Okay. Go right. Go down. Ein neues Teil. Pick up Teil 7. Nice. Und das haben wir verbunden. Das war dieses ovale Ding von der anderen Seite. Ja, wo wir das eingesetzt haben. Genau. Go right. Click on the panel and read the theory. Read again by Jetsko. Wieder eine lange, aber ist interessant.